So in this video, we're going to talk about why it is easier to need to be saved than to ask for what it is we want and have our needs met. So on one side, we are reactive and we are in our wounded inner child, where the default mode is to want to be saved by others. And in order to be able to have a fulfilling life, we need to be able to become more vulnerable. And how is being in survival and in reactivity, more safe than actually becoming vulnerable? Well, in the first case, it is definite that we're not going to have our needs met. And if we do, we won't have them met as we would want to. Chances are we're going to be recreating the pattern and the dynamics we had with our caregivers. So if our caregivers did feel that we were a burden, they felt that, they would want to fulfill our needs one moment and the next moment they would become erratic and reactive. And this is something, or they were judgmental. This is something we're going to recreate in our adult relationships. Breathe in. Hold. So these videos are semi-meditative and informative. And I also want to share with you that for all these videos that I show on YouTube, I will be creating courses very soon. So always check in the description box for the courses that you might be interested. We already have the one on stress ready, worry, and panic attacks. And we will be creating more sessions. I call them game shops because we're reversing the game that we have been playing until now, from survival to growth. So please always check in the description box for updated courses. Okay, so let's breathe in again. Hold, breathe out. Okay, so as long as we have a wounded inner child, becoming vulnerable to our needs, especially if we've been very shamed and we have made wrong when we were young, when we were asking, maybe we were called too difficult, too much, too needy. Maybe there was no space for us because our adults, caregivers were actually taking up too much space. Maybe they were too busy fighting. And maybe we felt that they were too overwhelmed to have space for us. And we believed this. And actually this doesn't matter if it was true or not. What matters is how we have perceived it, because we have been locked into this perception, and we have been, from then until now, looking at life through this lens. And if our life at this moment is unfulfilling, if it's not how we want it to be, we could actually do something about it and reverse it, as long as we're willing to actually do one thing. So on the one spectrum, we have the version of ourselves tolerating life and tolerating the unfulfilled life. We have our wounded inner child that wants to be saved and feels ashamed to ask, feels different emotions, uncomfortable emotions to actually, feels unsafe to have her or his needs met. And then there's the other version of ourselves that is actually experiencing their fulfilled life. Now, in order to get from point A to point B, from this version of ourselves to this one, there is a process that until now has been too dangerous and scary for ego. That's why we preferred to be experiencing an unfulfilled life rather than a fulfilled one. Subconsciously, we have been protecting ourselves from what we're going to be explaining together here. Breathe in. Hold, breathe out. Okay, so we would want to know what we have been protecting ourselves. Who would want to be stuck in unfulfillment rather to experience a fulfilling life on all levels? Why would anyone want to choose that version and be stuck there rather than to actually experience and embody this version of ourselves? Well, the answer is kind of simple, and it's this. In order to grow from that version of ourselves to the next, we would need to confront and face and feel, to heal through some uncomfortable emotions. One of them being unfulfillment, to actually allow to feel how it is to feel, to not have my needs fulfilled. And mind you, this is not something that, we could actually only decide that we could decide that I would like to feel this. Actually, by saying it, the subconscious is going to bring some emotions up, and it's going to start the process of integration. The only thing we need to do is be willing with a tool, to have a specific tool that will make feeling any uncomfortable or overwhelming feeling and emotion safe. Sorry about that. That's my lovely dog. He wants to express himself. For the longest time, I have been really annoyed while I'm recording videos, and I have decided I need to accept his expression, not want to hold him back from, expressing his needs and wants. Okay, so let's breathe in. Hold, breathe out. Okay. So, as we said before, the reason why we have been holding back was because maybe we had not yet had the tools, or maybe felt that feeling is safe on any level. So we had to actually withhold, suppress, resist, fight those uncomfortable emotions that have been suppressed into our subconscious. And so in order to, because the healing process is like an onion, it's in layers. In order to get closer to what it is that's really happening under the surface, we would need to, in layers, feel what we have been until now resisting to feel, not wanting to feel, to meet us in those places where we have not been wanting to meet us. Another small parenthesis, because this video is very inspiring for me, and I think a lot of people will need it, I will want to create the course to heal the inner child soon and put it in the description box. Yes, and if anybody is wanting this, please do send me messages and comment underneath, so that way I am more inspired to do it even faster. Okay, so the question is, because you see, when we actually, okay, so let's say we do ask for those uncomfortable emotions to come up. What happens is this: we are wired by default that when the negative emotions and feelings come up, to actually, avoid and distract and fight what's happening. So what we need anchors to actually go through the layers in that moment when we're feeling whatever is uncomfortable, to meet us there, meet that part of us that until now has been resisted, rejected, abandoned, neglected, and be present and present and present to the point where there is no more room for self-neglect. And then speaking up, even if it's scary, it becomes more important than actually withholding and holding ourselves down and back and suppressing what is true for us and what is real for us and what is authentic for us. So the question for this video would be, why is it easier to react from survival than to become vulnerable? Well, the answer is simple. There's this fake sense of control, right? The ego prefers the consistent, the specific, the something that it will know the outcome of, even if it's not the desirable outcome, even if it's the worst outcome. If it is the one it can predict, it prefers that to the one it can't, which will be the most fulfilling one, which is kind of practically insane. But that's how it works, because it's more interested in survival than fulfillment and growth. Breathe in. Hold, breathe out. So in order to get ourselves from point A to point B, from tolerating unfulfillment to experiencing fulfillment, we would want to make what has now until now been uncomfortable more and more safe to be felt. And that's how we are actually, instead of going from point A to point B, we're actually collapsing point A and point B. And that's how healing works, actually. Okay, breathe in. Hold, breathe out. So, why is it easier? Yes, so the controlling, predicting the outcome is a lot safer, than actually risking fully to open up our hearts, be seen, and then be rejected and neglected and abandoned. However, we will see that as long as we are working, I don't think it's the right word, but doing the inner work, we will see that the fear of actually exposing ourselves or becoming vulnerable is not after we have shared, actually. It's just before we opened up, because in order to actually risk sharing, it needs so much courage. And we can never not have fear. But what we can do is go into fear, face it, feel through it. And in that moment is when we have become courageous. And so by just doing that, deciding to open up and become vulnerable on its own as an act is such a growth curve that just to get ourselves there has given us so much love. At the end, it doesn't really matter if the other person reciprocates this love. Because the opposite of fear is love, yes. So in order to, once we decide to go into fear and see it for what it is, face it, wow, is it so freeing. Whereas on the other side, when we're in survival, we are being controlled by fear because we are escaping it, not wanting to meet ourselves there. Actually, fear, once we decide to meet it, is our guide to love, is our guide to be love. Fierce love, fierce self-sourced love. And with that, I'll wish you a beautiful morning, evening, afternoon, day, night. See you in the next video.